What's
Hey
up?
now.
What's up, folks? How's it going? Welcome to the Real Talk Tap Talks. My name is Nico Rubio, and this is episode 12, featuring Chicago legend, someone who someone who you've seen everywhere from Jelly's Last Jam to Black and Blue. Chicago native, Sammy Dyer alumni. I
Yeah,
could give
man.
all the credits and things, but
Yeah, man.
a magnificent human being, Mr. Ted Lewis Levy. Cue the
God bless you.
studio
God bless you.
audience. Clap
Hello,
at home.
everybody. Nico Rubio in the
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
125. 125. Yeah, man. Yeah, we here.
Indeed.
It is
Yeah.
my pleasure.
So how you doing today?
Oh my God, I
How
was
you
so
doing today?
excited. I was so excited because you got me the call. You gave me the call yesterday, and Barbara Duffy and Anthony Morzerato got me doing homework because I'm writing,
Mm-hmm.
and they got me on schedule, checking old people. And when you called me yesterday, I was like, because I saw the episode with you and Reggio.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the episode with you and Reggio, and I didn't know. I mean, you got a lot going on over there, and I was really excited to be a part of it. Yeah, man.
This is true, man. Yeah, yeah. It's really nice to have you. Yeah. So I mean, I guess not this isn't about me, but just to start there for anyone who's curious, like I have a production company, and that's where we're doing our shows and all these things. Like the end of the year event, and this podcast is through that. And then my company, my tap company, 333 is a different thing. But yeah, it's a lot going on.
And
I'm
that's
just
where you
trying
were.
to,
Were you with
I've been
333? Were you with 333 before we started?
Yeah, yep. So
Yeah.
that's for anybody who is waiting for us. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
We did
Yes.
have a rehearsal. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for waiting. Thank you for everyone who's tuned in. We got folks tuned in right now, so
Come
appreciate
on
you
now. How
being
y'all
here. But
doing?
yeah, Yep. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because we're on YouTube, so folks, if you want to say hi, you could say hi in the chat. If
So
you like,
wait,
there is a live chat.
I can't see the
So
chat.
you're not going to see it because we're
Oh,
on Zoom. So if you
so they're
yeah.
gonna ask you the questions and you gonna
Yeah, if something pops up, I'll let you know.
don't
I'll
let
filter on through.
don't let Nico trick y'all. Okay, make it.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
we
tap
already
dance.
got some people.
Them tap dancers in the
Yeah,
great word from Cab Calloway. They got trickeration.
preparation. Yep,
So what's happening with
that's amazing.
333? What's happening with 333?
Well, see, this is going to turn into a me interview in a moment,
No,
but
because
we're
I
actually
need to. Yeah.
right, yeah. So you got to see the our end of the year show, and we had one
Yes.
feature.
Yes.
Yeah, some In Walk Bud with some John Hendricks. I knew you would dig that. So
Song for my father. Song for my father.
mm,
Come on now.
yeah.
We got to talk
Yeah.
about that. I got a few choice
Well,
words for you, son.
oh, what? I'm gonna
Beautiful show.
slide out of frame.
No. Beautiful show. Beautiful show, Nico. Beautiful show.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So we, man, we were prepping for that end of the year event, do a faculty show like what you and people saw, and then we were
Yes.
also going to present this Thelonious Monk tribute that we've been working on behind the scenes. Yes. So that In Walk Bud was just one piece of
Right.
a whole thing that we were prepping. And then, back in November when cases started rising, we kind of had to dial back, and, we just had to put that on hold.
Right.
So right now we're, I guess, for anybody who's tuning in, you're getting inside word, but we're going to be filming an outdoors socially distanced video in the cold here in Chicago.
Oh, whoa. That's called some cold rhythm out there. You're going to be dropping cold rhythm, baby.
Cold rhythm for sure. Yeah, it's going to be a thing. But yeah, so we were prepping for that. And then, getting through traffic right now was nice and fun,
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about you and everything. So, man,
I am you, man. I am you. We are us, Yeah, man. It's just nice to see y'all doing all the good things. I caught the end of the year concert. Mm-hmm. You've got so much going on. It's just really, I think this is just an awesome, awesome time for tap dance. You know, anytime you go online, there's some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things. Chicago popping. Anthony got Albany, New York up there popping. Yep. Barbara holding New York down, her and Tony Vogue. Yep. DC out there. I mean, it's beautiful all over the world. Tap dancing all over the world. Writers are writing about tap dancing. Derek Rowland. I mean, singers are singing about tap dance. Lon Chaney. That was pre-show, y'all.
Yeah, we were talking about that off air. Yep. But yeah, I mean, I want to get to, you know, your origin story, because I know, you know, a little about you, but some people might, or not a little bit, you know, we know each other. But
look, I'm sorry, but me, you, and Nello was hanging out back in the day, and they don't remember. I remember. I will never forget that time when I was driving down in a car, and you was on the corner of Michigan Avenue, and you had your board out there, and my sister was driving me. We were going back south. I saw you out on the street. I jumped out of the car on Michigan Avenue, and I said, this young man is not going to ruin my reputation. Somebody getting cut today. We out on Michigan Avenue tap dancing. It was great, man.
Yeah, y'all. This was back in the street performing days. That was actually fun, because it didn't happen all the time. But every now and then, I'd just be shedding, you know, street performing, and a legendary or an up and coming hoofer would come on, and sometimes have shoes on. Jamani and Donetta came up on me one day. They put their shoes on around the corner and ran up and just jumped on the board. And I'm like, oh, I don't want no problems.
Jamani learned well. He learned well.
Right.
He's from Sammy Dyer. It just reminded me of Roxanne Butterfly when we were doing Black and Blue. Roxanne Butterfly owned Columbus Circle. I mean, she was killing it all day out there in Columbus Circle. She was out in Columbus Circle by day, and the bucket drummers were playing in the breezeway of the Minskoff Theater by night. And they used to piss us off because they made more money in a night than we made in a week. I'm like, wait a minute.
I know about it. Yeah.
They were killing it. And it was a beautiful thing. But Chicago's my home.
Exactly.
My mother.
So speaking of home, go ahead.
Go please.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, we can start from wherever you'd like to, but as much as I know about you, the cool thing about these podcasts is I'm learning too. So I'm curious to pre-Sammy Dyer, you know, like what got
Sammy Dyer was it. Sammy Dyer was it. Pre-Sammy Dyer was my mother and my older sister. You know, we 1970s. I know you want to leave me. You know what I mean? We doing the Temptations and Michael Jackson. ABC. You know, we was rocking that choreography. Charlie Atkins choreography, we didn't know. The Temptations, we didn't know. My sister was, as a little kid, 9, 10 years old, they used to play a place over on Stony Island called the High Chaparral. And my father, my uncle was a bouncer. And New Year's, my first show ever was at the High Chaparral on New Year's Eve with my little brother, Antonio, and my sister Mildred, and my sister Diane, who is no longer with us. It was the first show I had ever done, choreographed by my oldest sister, my oldest sister, Dolly, on the south side of Chicago. I got 9 brothers and 5 sisters. And I didn't know my parents. They were busy. But my mother was a dancer at the Club de Lisa on the south side of Chicago. Man. And the beautiful thing about that was that Sammy Dyer was the choreographer and the producer of the Club de Lisa. They used to call the girls tea dancers because they would just touch, step, touch, and then do the line, step, touch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, walk, 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 and do formations. So they called them touch dancers. Sammy Dyer was the choreographer and the producer. And when I became 14 years old, I learned about girls. And my grade, but when I was 14, I had a sister above me that was 15, a brother that was 16, a sister that was 17, and a brother that was 17, and a sister that was 18. So we had a house full of hormones going around, and it was 8 of us in a 3-bedroom apartment. And my father was going crazy. And you know the stories your father and your parents always tell you, you know, especially like on those holidays. They tell you the stories about when they was growing up. Yes, when I was, you know, your daddy was back in the day. And he would tell us about how he met my mother, who was in the chorus, because Sammy Dyer put together a group of girls called the Dyerettes.
Yep. Yeah.
And that was Shirley Hall Bass, Clarice White Pruitt, Muriel Foster. Oh my God, and I forget the other lady's name. I forgot the other lady's name, and then she's gonna kill me. Miss Foster's gonna kill me. But Sammy Dyer put these ladies together, and my father was the chaperone. The girls used to be able to dance in the club at 14 years old, right? And they could dance in the clubs, but they had to have chaperones. Somebody had to watch them so that when they got from the stage to the door, they could not drink. They could not socialize. They could say hello to the patrons, but they had to have a male. And my father was that guy. He was the chaperone to the Dyerettes. So when he used to threaten us all the time. My mother passed when I was 9 years old. And I went to live with my father when I was 9. My mother passed, my mother passed when I was 9. In the same year, she had took us to live with our father. And he used to tell us, he was telling us these stories. He would tell us all the time. From the time I was 14, back in the day. And he used to tap dance. He used to embarrass us because back in the 70s, tap dancing was not
the thing.
Yeah. It was not the thing. I mean, it had the stigmas that came with it. You know, you were a coon. If you tap dance, you were a coon. Uncle Tom. And then, you know, I lived on the south side of Chicago. So my father used to threaten us. Whenever we would do something wrong, he would threaten us. I'm going to take you down to Shirley. Oh, my God. We'd heard about Shirley Hall Bass and Finest Henderson, Sammy Dyer. Every weekend, every time he had to have his adult moment, we heard about Sammy Dyer. So when I got 14, everything went wrong. I was doing bad in school. I had 3 sisters, and they were going girls, teenage girls, and my older brothers were just, everybody was wilding out. My father put us all on punishment at the same time. It was a movie. It was a bad movie, man. We all said, so we decided, he put us all on punishment, and we decided to give him the silent treatment. We were like, no, you gonna put us on punishment? I mean, can you imagine 8 people sitting around a table and all you hearing is clink, 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 clink?
Right.
And my father worked 2 jobs. He was a livery driver, and he was a butcher at A&P before they shut them all down. At A&P on King Drive, 71st Street.
What was the A&P?
A&P was like,
what?
It's a grocery store.
Okay,
yeah. But they had real live butchers at the time. They had butchers working behind the counter, meat counter. You didn't just go pick up no wrapped meat. You went to the butcher counter and you ordered your meat. A&P was still doing that.
Yeah.
So when he came home, he would come home from A&P, get up, go to A&P work, and then he'd come home, take a couple hours sleep, and go drive the cab at night. So he came home this one day, all of us on punishment. We gave him the silent treatment. He had threatened to call Shirley Hall Bass every time he got in trouble. I'm going to call Shirley. I can't take this. I'm going to call Shirley. Well, we gave him the silent treatment, and he would have, Dolly, did you do? Yep. Greasy, did you? Yep. About the 3rd time he got it, he said, oh, y'all think y'all being smart. He said, I know how to fix you, little jive mountain farmer. He got up, went and picked up the phone, first time ever. Dialed the phone. He said, oh, yeah, y'all think y'all smart. Y'all go, yo, you don't want to talk to me? I got something for you. And you know we had the dial phones at the time. Right. And he just a talking. He said, yeah, you don't want to talk to me? I got something for you. Hey, this is Melton. Hey, where's Shirley? Everything stopped. Whoosh. He had never talked to her until that day. When he hung up that phone, pandemonium. Nobody could go to dancing school. We lived on the south side of Chicago, man. You tell somebody you going to dancing school, you be a boxer. You're going to be fighting every day. Went down to that school.
Right.
Right. We was, So we went down to that dancing
Lon
school.
Chaney for real.
Lon Chaney for real. In the building, and we lived in that building. We lived in that building right off 71st Street in the Dan Ryan.
Yeah, the tall white building right off the expressway.
Building. That's where I lived from the 9 to 14.
Yep.
From 9 to 16, I lived in that building. And here we were. If you go in that building and out that building, man, all the cats are out there. So if they'd have found out, I didn't tell nobody. But from the time I was 9 to the time I was 14 years old, we very rarely talked about our mother. You know what I mean? Oh, except for the times when, my father, would reminisce, because she was the only woman that he ever loved. We go down to the dancing school, and the first person we see is Shirley Hall Bass. And she had this smile on her face. But I'm a Taurus now. I'm 14. I know I'm going to have to fight. I'm mad. I got my arms folded. My lips was poked out. I wasn't talking to nobody. This woman, her face, when she smiled, she had this overbite. But when she smiled, she lit up. And she talked to my father. When she met my father, I never knew he had a sister, but she talked to him like she was his sister. And she looked at my sister, Mildred, and she said, "Oh my God, she looks just like Dolly." And I had never heard anybody mention my mother's name. And at that moment, I wanted to know that lady because she knew, I knew she knew my mother, but I was still a Taurus.
Right.
So my arms is folded. She took some taking us around the school. I got this look like, because she's intriguing me, So we went back and we watched. She took me upstairs. We on punishment now. This was a punishment. My father took us to dancing school on punishment. He made us go.
That's hilarious.
I'm like, it was crazy. So I go up these stairs. We go 2120 South Michigan. We go up these stairs, and you can hear the kids flipping and doing the gymnastics. I turn the corner. Nico. A line full of girls.
Right.
In tights and leotards. Now, I ain't being bad, but the only other girls I've seen in their underwear was my sisters. And these were not my sisters. And they look like.
And just to be clear, folks at home, you were the same age, around the same age.
14.
Right.
I was 14, and it was all girls. There was 2 other guys in the room.
Yeah.
I was like, this is punishment? Oh, Dad, you got this wrong. You got this all wrong. This is a party. When I put my tap shoes on, it was over. When I got my tap shoes, it was over. They had classes on, my classes were only on Tuesdays. They had classes on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And Shirley would come down to the school on Fridays to write our shows. I was down there Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And whenever I could find a space in those tap shoes, I was there. I went from the beginner's class to the advanced class in a year. Shirley, it was it. I mean, and the first song that I ever danced to was "I Got a Girl Who Lives Up on the Hill." I got a girl who lives up on the hill. Count Bass was the first song I ever danced to.
Ooh, that's an intro.
Right, that was the intro. We was shim sham, but it was rocking.
Right, yep.
And all the girls was like, "Oh, he's so cute. He danced so good." I was like, "Yes." Yes.
Yeah.
More tap dance, please. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So wait. So I have to ask because I've heard you talk of Finest Henderson as being
Oh,
your.
well, that
Yes.
comes later. That
Okay.
comes
So
later.
Shirley Hall Bass was your first teacher.
Shirley Hall Bass was my trainer.
Okay.
Most dancing schools, I was talking to, uh, who was this I was talking to? I was talking to somebody recently about, oh no, Janae, the Chicago dance
Okay.
history.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. We were talking about the dancing schools in Chicago and Chicago's dance history. Sammy Dyer was unique in that it did not do regular recitals. When I tell all you tap dancers out there listening to me, y'all listen to me. When I tell y'all to sing, I'm telling y'all, as Anthony and Barbara Duffy are putting me through my paces so I can put y'all through y'all paces. We're gonna write these shows. These shows are going on. And I don't want to have somebody come to me and say, oh, well, she's a Broadway singer and she can sing Broadway. Can you teach her how to tap? Especially when I got all these great tap dancers out here. Don't make me come for you. I'll come for you, people. I'll come for
Yeah.
you.
Y'all out there, get your vocals together.
No, you too. What you
Not
talking
me,
about?
but y'all.
You and y'all. You and y'all.
I'm writing bars, if anything. No, but
So
I
Shirley would do, we did, it was called it's called Sammy Dyer School of the Theater because
exactly.
Sammy Dyer was pretty much rooted in the theater. It was rooted in the theatrical experience. And we had live shows. We did live shows. We didn't do recitals and recordings. We did live shows. We had live bands, we had costumes, and Shirley Hall Bass did something real special. Instead of doing just a recital, she would take like American theatricals and change them. Like we would do Peter Pan, but we call him My Man Pan. You know what I mean? We did Tom Sawyer, but we did Tom Sawyer Jackson. Guess who was Tom Sawyer, by the way? My first leading role was Tom Sawyer Jackson. Yes, singing a love song. And I didn't tell anybody who the song was for. It was for all of them. Yes.
I'm trying to find.
No, you do not.
I'm trying to find some tapes. If you got some tapes of these things.
I just found the somebody just sent me the actual playbill, the program from Tom Sawyer a couple of years ago.
Wow.
But the thing that was beautiful about that, working my first show at Sammy Dyer, was Chicago jazz and Chicago dance was, but jazz and dance, you know what I mean? In the American jazz and American dance is simpatico. Its evolution is intertwined, unquestionably. And the house band for the Club de Lisa was Red Saunders. And the first band that I ever danced in front of was the dance band who played for my mother, which was the Red Saunders Band under Shirley Hall Bass's direction. Now, my first tap master was Muriel Foster. They used to call her Twinkle Toes. We'd be in the room learning our little rhythms. Miss Foster would come in and upset the whole thing. Because Shirley taught us show tap. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Miss Foster would come in and go, how about this? Whack, he get the back of the big guy, the back of the doom, boom, and then walk out.
Yep.
She just dropped that rhythm on your head and walked out. So I had gone to the military after I was there from 1974 to 1980. And in 1980, the reason I joined the military is I had gotten my heart broken for the first time. And I had to leave Chicago. But
what age was this, if you don't mind sharing?
I was 20. I was born in 1960.
Okay. So you got a good 5-6 years of dancing in first?
I got 5. I had to go see the world. I had to take the rhythm to the world. I had to take the rhythm to the world. And then I was, and I, shut up, Nico. But I was the predecessor. Y'all taking rhythm to the world in a whole nother way. I just went on into the Navy and I was seeing the world. And it's a real funny story. I'll tell you a real funny story. But Shirley Hall Bass, Finest Henderson was Sammy Davis Jr.'s business partner and manager. And he also had a partner that he danced with in Chicago. He was one of Chicago's well-known, because Club de Lisa in Chicago was like the Cotton Club in New York.
Yes. So just to jump in, just so that for anyone who was with us from the beginning when we kind of touched on the Club de Lisa, just like Ted said,
Right.
that was like our Cotton Club, and it's something that I've been
Yes.
crazy, just allured to since I heard about it, because we hear about origins of tap starting here, ending up here, being there, and then what always caught my ear was its development in Chicago. And
No.
then we don't hear of our history just widely shared or talked about. It's all New York and that thing.
Right, but Chicago has a huge blues influence. The migration north was a real thing. Louis Armstrong, I think one of his first stops was Chicago. You know what I mean? And when people talk about swing, they talk about Louis Armstrong and who is this cat in New York? Oh my, James Reese Europe, I think it is. Don't start me to lying. But check the jazz, check the jazz, Ken Burns jazz.
Right.
It was God, I can't remember his name right now, but there was a gentleman who it was not James Reese Europe. There was another band leader when Louis Armstrong hit New York and joined that band. It was noted as the moment swing began. He was the first Black big band leader in New York. See if you can find his information. But Chicago's, if you look at American music, American dance, tap dance, buck dancing, the whole 9 yards, from minstrelsy.
Oh wait, are you talking about Duke Ellington?
No, not Duke Ellington. Before Duke. It was before Duke. No, not Duke. His name will come to me in a minute.
Not Fletcher Henderson.
Fletcher Henderson.
Yep. Okay.
All
right. See, technology, because I be real time.
I'm doing that research now. Listen, Anthony's sending me jazz books because I'm writing a musical called Swing for Sale, and it's about big band jazz. And oh my God, Chicago had its own musical lineage, but it was pretty much rooted in the blues. Chicago's history was pretty much, but when you talk about the Club de Lisa, everybody who was anybody, Nat King Cole, Ella Fitzgerald, everybody, but Count Basie, Duke Ellington, everybody was at the de Lisa. There was two other places. One was the Regal.
Yep.
And then there was Jerry's Palm Tavern, where everybody hung out after they played the Regal. You know what I mean? It's like, so Red Saunders was the band who played for us. Finest Henderson was, being Sammy Davis Jr.'s best friend and manager and a Chicago tap dancer in his own right, was pretty much, Chicago was his town. You know what I mean? It was his home, it was his town. Shirley called him. I knew about him. I just didn't want to meet him because of all of the stories my father was telling me over and 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 over again. I mean, every weekend, Finest Henderson, Shirley, he would tell the same story over and over again. So when I finally met this guy, Finest showed up. I wish I could show y'all now, but he was 60. He was 60 when I met him. Oh my God, this is great. Came into the studio. Shirley said she's taking me as far as she could take me, and she needed for him to take me. It was my first year choreographing, and I choreographed to Sing, Sing, Sing. And Finest coming to the studio, never forget it. Gray pants, blue blazer, bowler, Bilbo Jangles Robinson bowler cap, and had a long cigarette holder in his mouth. He was cool as a cucumber, man. So we showed him everything. And then Shirley said, Teddy is what they call me. Show him your over the tops. Oh, there I was, flailing, arms flailing. Just this cat, you know the ballet bars? Ballet bars. Finest was 60 years old, hit this rhythm. And I'm not talking about around the ankles. He went, his head was between the, you know that video with Lois Bright when she does those bell turns? and her head doesn't move.
Yeah.
That's one of the hottest clips I've ever seen in my life. But Finest Henderson, he was ripped up, skitty about bam. When he went down, he stayed there. Hit those over the tops. This head didn't move. Bam. Came up, ripped up, skitty about killed it at 60 years old. I looked at him, he said, all right, hit it. I said, you want me to do that? He says, you're going to do that because I'm going to teach you. Oh my God. Took me 2 years to learn my paradiddles. To pocket them. Because he showed me what Lon Chaney and them had been doing for years. I mean, I'm talking about dropping that heel. I went into the Navy, found me a dancing school, and then I found some more cute girls and took ballet. But when I got on the ship, I realized I just could not dance.
Yeah.
And Shirley had 1 year we did American in Paris. And I did the Gene Kelly part. Round the map, I've been a dancer from New Jersey to Japan. And if not a perfect prancer, I'm at least a tip-top traveling man. Yes, I've played out in one-nighters, every mountain, every coast. Man, I was on watch in Japan. Midnight watch on the front of the ship, reliving that moment. The police,
right, yeah, with the proper scenery.
They came up with guns and everything. What the hell is going on up here in the front? Levy, what are you doing? Because right below me was the medical department. I'm tap dancing all over the front of the ship. They were like, what the hell? They ended up having a talent show while we were out at sea. Wow. And I realized that was the first time I ever made my own little board. People, we were on a repair ship. The guy said, hey man, we'll help you. And they made me a tap board, took it down to the gym. And the rest is history.
So wait, I'm just curious, were you in some Oxfords or did you have some taps on?
Oh no, I have never, from the time, I'm gonna tell you this. I go to the grocery store.
That's disrespect right now, right?
I go, you understand what I'm saying, Nico? Don't make me break out the Right. Oh no, I used to go to the grocery store with my tap shoes. My family was like, "What's wrong with you?" You know,
you never know.
When I went into, as a matter of fact, when I went into the Navy, when I was in boot camp, there was a whole racial thing. We had it's just the most ignorant thing in the world to me. But in boot camp, we had the racial tension was ridiculous. And every time they would have these discussions about it, I'm like, I'd be on the other end of the room trying to do what I was doing. And the company commander said, Ted, what's going on? I said, this is nonsense. Y'all doing nonsense. I'm in boot camp in the Navy. I mean, we're talking about protecting the United States of America with our lives. And this guy don't like this guy. I said, what happens if he's drowning? He don't want this guy to save him? What are y'all talking about? I said, I ain't having that conversation. So the bottom line was, now this is the funny thing. The white guys didn't have good rhythm. They couldn't march.
They're like left first, is it left, right? Wow.
So one of the things that happened was one of the white boys in the company had a guitar. And the company commander was trying to get us together. And he had a guitar and I had my tap shoes in storage. And the company commander brought my shoes and put them on the table. He said, you want to try it? I said, what you mean, try it? I was a cocky, you know who told me? Charlie Atkins said, he said, you good, but you're a cocky little son of an man. But Shirley Hall Bass and Finest Henderson taught me right. I didn't go to college to become a Broadway choreographer. for everybody out there, you're dealing with these teachers who are giving you their hearts. Take it. You got to take every ounce of it, because you just never know where it's going to land you. So we get in the thing, and this guy playing this thing, he starts playing some old country music. I heard funk up in there. I mean, you know, because one of my trainers was Tom Washington, who did the arrangements. When Shirley would do the shows, we had Tom Washington, who did the arrangements for Earth, Wind, and Fire horn section. Tom Washington did the arrangements for Phil Collins' Susudia. That's who I was. This is who I'm listening to these guys talk arrangements and talk about music and telling you where to land your rhythm. I mean, even though, I mean, you're talking about, so you guys have to take this information. So this guy's playing the guitar and I tap dance on the thing, it changed the energy in the room. And the company commander said, Ted, you think you can teach us how you can help us march, get our marching together? So I became the drill sergeant. No. But I did the bamboozle. Wow. I did the bamboozle. See, I did Shirley. This was one of the best things I ever did in my life, because I got the guys into the room, and we said, now, y'all, this is not a visual I'm trying to paint for you on purpose. But we in the barracks marching in our drawers. We in our underwear. We marching. Right. But look. But what I did was I had everybody. I pulled out Elvis Presley on them. Give me your left, 2, 3, your right on, left, 2, 3, your right on, left. Wow. Say your left. Give me your left, 2, 3, your right on, left, 2, 3, your right on, left. I want your left. Give me your left. I want your left. I want your left, not your right, but your left. And white boys was like, they were like, yeah. Yeah. It was funny.
Wow, changing their lives out there.
Well, but what happened is that it just created a cohesiveness. And it's only because of my tap dance, and only because of Shirley. I thought about Shirley Hall Bass. She took American musicals and she made them urban specific for us. So what I said was that I'm not going to go up and then go, and what I couldn't do was I couldn't bring the Temptations up in there. Them cats wasn't hearing that. You know, they really didn't care about Michael Jackson. But you mentioned Elvis Presley, and they go off. They going off. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it was good. Right. It was a really good thing. So when I got out to sea, and I got to Hawaii, I started studying at a place called the Rosalie Woodson Dance Academy. And when I returned back to Chicago, I had 4 years of ballet under my belt. I was studying piano.
Wow.
While I would go on the ship, do my work. Afterwards, I get on my bicycle and go straight to ballet class. Now, my ballet instructor, by the way, was smoking. She was hot. I'm like, yes.
And this is like, you were just.
What?
I believe it. Yeah. But you were just stationed. You were stationed in Hawaii. Is what you're saying?
I was stationed in Hawaii. And the first thing I did when after my first tour, we went out to Japan, Korea, the Philippines, Australia. And when we came back, we were restationed in Hawaii. And the first thing I tried to do was find a dancing school. And a place that I found was within bicycle range. I bought me a bicycle. Every day I got off work, I was at that dancing school. And the only time I wasn't at the dancing school was when we were out to sea. You know what I mean?
So this is important, I think. It's not to cut you off, but I think this is important for the male dancers and the young male dancers, because you mentioned, your first thoughts on dance were similar to mine and so many people, where there's you don't know, so you think that's for girls, or you think that you have to, or you might actually have to deal with people trying to bully you or something. So so at what point was it that you got the confidence? Yeah. So where did you find the confidence to then just go do that? Were you doing that in secret?
Listen, it was
or
girls,
was it like you were just?
No, No, it was girls. It was girls.
Exactly.
When I saw that line of girls, but the deal is,
Yeah.
but the deal is young people just like to be together. You know what I mean? We weren't, it wasn't, you know, I mean, naturally, I'm a boy, so I like girls, and girls like boys. That's a natural thing. But it was nothing other than the fact that we were together, we were young, we had 1,000 years of energy that we were trying to get out. We had a great teacher, Shirley Hall Bass, and my best friends. We were just everything we did. The minute I got there, I found people. I found life. I found what I knew why the sun came up. The sun came up so we could see our way to dancing school. You know what I mean? That was, you know what I mean? It had nothing to do with just the girls. It just so happens that, you know, I mean, I like hanging out with with the fellas, but there's nothing in the world more beautiful than a woman telling you, you were so good at that. You know what I mean? Or I believe in you and I'm so proud of you. I mean, it's just nothing like that. It's nothing like having a woman or a female tell you that she believes in you, right? And even as a kid, they go, Jay, that was so good, Jenny. And it wasn't anything other than that mutual encouragement. And they would do the same thing. Young people do that for each other. Young people, whatever we doing as grown folks, this nonsense we out here doing as grown folk, we should be embarrassed at the example that we're setting for our young people, not tap dancers, because we're working, we understand that rhythm is life. We understand that we're all connected through the rhythms of life. We understand that rhythm is in everything. That's the first thing that Finest Henderson told me about rhythm. I said, so what are we doing? He said, we doing. I said, so what are we gonna do? He says, we're going to do rhythm. I said, isn't that what we were doing? He says, no, you were doing tap dancing. Show dancing. He said, we're going to do rhythm. I said, well, what's the difference? He said, rhythm is life. And rhythm is in everything. He should have never told me that. He should have never told me that. He said, so the scene that Gregory did in Tap, where he had the street scene, where people just came out of the club, and so I mean, that was just so. Every tap dancer, every master that I talked to, at some point, you can hear them hear it. You know what I mean? When you were hanging up, Ralph Brown, any of them, they go, ooh. And then they repeat the rhythm to you. And you be like, I love you so much, man. Because you know, I mean, even Jimmy Slide, we'd be walking somewhere and all of a sudden he'd just break out. I mean, and you had the fun part was that you had to catch their groove. You know what I mean? Because you could hear them hear rhythm. And that's exactly what Finest taught me. So it had nothing to do, what we understood is that us having to communicate American in Paris was not about the play. It was about the words. It was about the dance. It was about us challenging ourselves. Shirley Hall Bass challenging us, like Anthony Morzerato challenges his students, or you. I saw a couple of your classes. I want to talk to you about this. Be kind to your students. Yeah. It's real love. I mean, when you love something, there is no question about it. You just want to do it, and you want to be. And as fellas, it's because somebody now watch this. Charlie Atkins was a ballet dancer before he became a tap dancer. Jimmy Slide took ballet. You know what I mean? Sammy Dyer did everything. You know what I mean? But what people have a tendency to do is they look at tap dancing and they see it just as the sounds it makes. But the definition of tap dance, the definition is sound and movement. And there are no barriers on the interpretation that our first responsibility is sound, right?
Yep, it's the first word, tap.
But in order to make a sound, you got to do what? You got to make a move. You know what I mean? So now, beautiful. Yeah. There is no there are no boundaries. Only boundaries that we have are in our own minds and in our own subjectivity. The way rhythm hits you is the way it hits you. Who you are, what you eat, how you feel about the world is going to determine how you dance. You know what I mean? How you see the world. The thing that Jimmy Slide and them taught me is how to see myself outside of myself. Okay, I'm like, okay, so I said, so, okay, Jimmy. I said, okay, Jimmy, what kind of drink was that you were drinking that you started seeing yourself outside yourself? Because that sounds like some sounds like some therapy right there. Some you need therapy for that kind of visual.
Right, that wasn't Pierre. Right, that wasn't our friend Pierre Ferrand. That
was. But it was.
You already know.
Yes, I do. But the difference is if you allow yourself to be open to the other disciplines of movement, just like the other inferences of music, you know what I mean? I may have started out with Count Basie, but it was Gregory Hines who turned me on to the Zawano Syndicate. You know what I mean? I heard Herbie Hancock coming up, blah, 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 but I didn't really hear it because I was here. Oh, somewhere there's music. How faint to be that. You know what I mean? I couldn't hear anything outside of 2 and 4. You know? But once I started opening myself up, and now that I'm listening to Anthony Margerato, the musical conversations are just huge, you know, because of how he sees it. But movement is, your pictures are part of your communication to your audience. We can,
for sure.
Jimmy Slide, being on stage, I used to think that it was all about the rhythm. Let me tell you what Jimmy used to do. When we would go out for the Hoofers line, I used to call my mentor. I used to call Finest every night because these cats was pulling stuff left and right on me, man. They were pulling stuff. I was getting my butt whooped beautifully by these cats. So Jimmy would tell me a joke. Jimmy would tell me a joke. We go out for ho, 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 ho. Yeah, ho, right?
Yeah.
Everybody would take their turn. Jimmy would tell me a joke backstage, but wouldn't tell me the punchline. So this one night,
that's right, a riddle of a joke. You're right, in Slide fashion.
He was a terrorist. He was a terrorist, and he would do this every so often. So, but they would have stuff. They would be up there doing their thing, but they would have stuff they would say to each other because they had these experiences together. These masters, they had these experiences. And they would say something to each other, and they would be like, they'd be dancing their butts off, but they would just be joking, and hitting it, not missing, but it would just be a ball. It was a ball every night. So I thought, I'm out here. I didn't learn how to dance. My first 8-bar phrases, until I was actually on Broadway.
Yeah, I remember hearing this. That's crazy.
Jimmy Slide told me how to do it, but this one particular time, he told me the punchline. I used to go out every night trying to hit that 8 bars, because I'm standing in line with Ralph Brown, Lon Chaney, Bunny Briggs, Jimmy Slide. I'm like, you can't miss a note, brother. You gotta hit it. There was a thing, for me, I just had to, So one night, Jimmy tells me this joke, and he don't tell me the whole band knew. because we go out for the hookers line. The whole band is in the back watching us. Jimmy tells me the punchline. I'm out here now. I know I'm in the middle. I can't even remember the joke. All I remember is that I was just trying to figure out how I was going to do the rhythm. And because I'm laughing. Laughing. But I can hold some time. I can hold some time. Let me tell you this. We have a tendency to think that the rhythm is more important than anything. This night that this happened, I went out. It was the best applause I had ever gotten. And I didn't dance. I did nothing. I was just holding time. I'm trying to get to my first note of my 8 bars. But by the time the audience was roaring, Jimmy said, "Come on home, Bunny Briggs." Yeah, it was over. So I come off the stage. I'm like, what the hell was that? What was that, Jimmy?
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, you thought it was about you." I said, "But I didn't do." I said, "I didn't do anything." He said, "Sure you did." I said, What happened here?" He said, "They got what you meant." I said, "I was laughing my ass off." I said, "I didn't mean now. I was trying to get." He said,
"Right.
But you were having the best time ever, weren't you?" I said, "We all were." He said, "And that's what you meant."
Yeah.
So in painting those pictures, going to ballet class and, doing all those things, you learn that all of those different aspects of dance, regardless of what anybody else has to say, they add to everything that these young people are learning right now. Everything that everybody's doing, if I look back at it, everything that you're learning right now is going to help you paint the pictures of who you are, what you mean, about how you feel, or what you understand about the world around you, your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul, and what you want to share with the world. It's the worst things ever happened to me turned out to be the best. Jimmy told me to sing. So he holds court at this place called Indigo Blue. I go over to Indigo Blue. I start singing Summertime. I forget the words and I start scatting. Jimmy, but it worked. I don't know how it worked, but it worked. I mean, no. Over there, because I heard Eddie Jefferson's version, right? Jimmy, after I got through dancing all this and that, Jimmy's like, "Yeah, that was wonderful. Come here." Yes, that was wonderful. He said, "Wasn't that wonderful?" And he grabbed me and he hooked me around the neck and he pulled our faces closer and he said, "Learn the words." Oh, I mean, so
I can hear Slide saying that too. Yeah.
Oh, it was murderous. But it's like the lessons that Finest taught me, they carried all the way over to Black and Blue. Speaking of Chicago, since we're talking about Chicago, I saw my first tap show in Chicago because of Lane Alexander. Lane Alexander was partially responsible for me getting to Broadway because Jane Goldberg had come to Chicago with a show called Changing Times Tap Company. First live show. First time I ever saw live tap. Buster Brown, Cook and Brown, Chuck Green, Diane Walker, and Jane Goldberg. I think it was called Shoot Me While I'm Happy. That video.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that? That video was the video.
Yeah, I've been hearing all the legends of everybody's different, the legends of everyone's different perspectives and vantage points of this. That was really a pivotal show in so many ways for so many people. It's crazy. We keep coming back to this, and I love everyone's point of view. Is interesting.
But it's Chicago. It's Chicago. I think that was the beginning of Lane wanting to really put Chicago tap on the map, because and Reggio was there. Reggio was there that night. Reggio was there that night. Reggio and I and Lane and a couple of other people, I can't remember. I remember Reggio being there that night that I danced. They allowed us to come up on the stage. But this was during the time. This was during the time. See, Gregory had already done Sophisticated Ladies, UB, Uptown. You know what I mean? At the same time, the Tap Dance Kid had come to Chicago with Dule Hill. Dule Hill was 10 years old, and he came to Chicago.
Wow.
And I had participated in that with them. So that connection, and I think the Portland Tap Festival was happening. During that time, I think there was a couple other tap festivals, and I knew nothing about that world because Sammy Dyer, Chicago had, who was it? Sadie Bruce, Jimmy Payne.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the teachers in Chicago at the time. Right?
Yeah.
Those were the major teachers. Tommy Sutton and Sammy Dyer. So it was a few of them on the South Side that was really teaching. I think it was a couple of people teaching at Gus Giordano, but it was those outside shows that came in. Because when Tap Dance Kid came in, that was the first time I met Harold Nicholas. Oh my God. You know what I mean? But he knew, everybody knew Finest. Finest knew everybody. Finest was my link to the world.
Why don't we know more about Finest Henderson? Because Finest I hear you talk about him.
Finest was one of those cats. I mean,
sorry,
you know what? No. This is something that's very important because I think about you guys right now. I think about the young tap dancers out there right now. When you think about, and I'm gonna kill you for that clip you put on there, man. The clip, that clip. That clip with my Kareem Abdul-Jabbar shorts on and my
Yo, I was loving it. I'm like, I ain't never seen Ted in this swag before from that Peg Leg documentary.
My tube socks. You don't understand.
That was the funniest part. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I'm like, I gotta show some folks some things they ain't maybe seen before. You know,
I was so
from the Peg Leg Bates Country Club.
Listen. I mean, you don't understand. During that time, it was an awesome thing. But when I think about people like Finest Henderson and people like Peg Leg Bates, I think about people like Crip Hurd. Woo. Huh? You ever heard of Crip Hurd?
Yeah.
You ever seen Crip Hurd? Oh, I mean, come on. I thought when I saw Crip Hurd, it blew me away. But think about, Jimmy Slide and them used to say, talk to us. Even Jimmy, when Finest came to New York, it was one of the greatest things that ever happened because they sat around and talked about all of the cats that people don't know about. Rhythm Red. You know what I mean?
Rhythm Red.
And I mean,
Earl Basie, Groundhog.
When I saw Gregory talk about Teddy Hale, I thought that Gregory was trained by Sam Ed Sims and Henry Latang. But then I heard Teddy Hale. And then you're like, who are these people? Patterson and Jackson? You don't understand. You want to talk about swinging? Shut the front door. You know what I mean?
Want to talk about trenches? Want to talk about trenches?
No, it's like that. But it's like when you see me do that in that clip that you saw me do, that at Peg Leg Bates, I had just learned a cramp roll. So, and I was watching Miller, that rhythm, I was trying to duplicate the Miller Brother and Lois rhythm. The you know what I mean? I was trying to figure out what that is. I told Jimmy, I said, I don't have it. He said, yes, you do. I said, no, I don't have it like they do. He said, you're not supposed to.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
And that's what, you know, when we get together and we do our ciphering, every dancer out here right now has to know that these influences of these dances that you will never know about. I want so much. I'm writing right now because I want so much what you guys, I think Jimmy and them, if they could be here with you guys, they would just be, I mean, y'all would be breakfast, lunch, and dinner to them because you're so awesome. The dancers that are out here right now, this is, I think Diane and I had this conversation, and I mean it. I mean it. And I mean it because I know it. We had this conversation, and Bunny Briggs, Chuck Green, George Hillman, and Jimmy Sly, after Black and Blue, we would all go over to Howard Johnson's and have chicken wings, and the band, oh my God, you can't even imagine. I wish I had a tape recorder, because the conversation, they would fight, man. They would have these arguments they told us about, I mean, the story that would come up every now and again is that Teddy Hale and Baby Lawrence Knight. Oh my God. I mean, to hear, you just couldn't hear it enough. Because and Bunny Briggs.
Yeah.
Bunny Briggs broke it down. He said, yeah, man, they did it. 1-4, 2-4, 4-4, 3-4. They did 5s, 7s, 9s. He said, and that was just the warm-up.
Right.
He said they were there for like, but the deal is to hear them talk about dancers who we never heard of. And when I think about how wonderful you are, how wonderful Anthony Margerato is, Trey, just, how wonderful. Song for My Father was just, it was beautiful, y'all. Y'all did an awesome job. But it's like, what is the mark that you all are going to make on the dance world that is going to be everlasting? I hate teaching because I'll go to a dancing school. There are people who don't know who Gregory Hines is. The students don't know who Gregory is. I mean, let alone Jimmy Slide and George Hillman. Honey Cole.
It's to the point where you could always you used to be able to always get, like, even if they couldn't think about it, you could say Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, Shirley Temple, and okay. Now it's to the point where that's happening less sometimes. Even those people they don't know about.
What?
Yeah.
What? So, but I'm saying the thing that I love about having these moments with you, hanging out with Anthony Margerato, or even going to the festivals. And I'm gonna tell you this, Trey, I'm kicking Trey's butt. And him and Diane, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you, Diane. I'm coming for you, Trey, because last year we were at Riff Dallas and they stole my routine. They stole my show, man. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Gone. Trey killed.
Right.
Killed it. That was the number.
I heard. I'm jealous.
That's the number I was gonna do. I ain't gonna do it. And then
it looked like a concert.
I had to go out. He did a concert. And then I had to go out and come up with something. Then when I come off the stage, Diane go on, and what she do? Ain't no sunshine when she. I went out. I jumped out on her. I jumped out. I was gonna cut you, Diane. We had such a great time. But those are the kinds of things I really meant what I said. I was on that stage, and it was because Star was there. She just did a wonderful job. A couple of Dorrance dancers was there. Christopher Broughton was there. They just killed. Charles Renato. Charles Renato?
Yeah.
What's up? What's wrong with that boy?
Brazilian
What's wrong
Philly.
with you? What Charles Renato means Jesus? We're gonna get Charles Renato some Jesus. Reverend Rhythm, Charles Renato. Yo, it was so much fun. But you want the thing that I think I learned from all of them, from Lon Chaney, Ralph Brown, who was Dizzy Gillespie's tap dancer. Bunny Briggs, who was
Yeah.
Duke Ellington's tap dancer. Uh, Bunny
Mm.
Bunny Briggs, George Hillman was a pickaninny.
Mm.
You talking about minstrelsy, to be up in that bridge. It was just awesome to see their
Yeah.
different interpretations, and Honey Coles and Charlie Atkins to be in Black and Blue, and to have Charlie Atkins, Fayard Nicholas, Frankie Manning, and Henry Latane choreographing one show. You have no idea. It was like my birthday every night. I would show up at the theater 2 hours early just because. So, but I think I am writing now because you all deserve the opportunity to either choreograph with me, perform for me, or for the show. You know what I mean? I say me because these
Yeah.
are my babies. My shows are my babies, and I'm writing them now, and I'm very, very, very proud to have the support of Barbara Duffy and Anthony Margerato in helping me move the ball further down the court. I'm very grateful. We're going to get something. We're coming out of this thing swinging, y'all. We're coming out of this COVID swinging. Yeah. We're coming out. It's beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful to watch all y'all on the internet do your thing. I had so much fun watching your concert, man. I was talking about you. I was talking about you. You should have heard me. You should have heard me. You should have heard me. I was talking about you and George. Yeah. I was talking about y'all. I put my shoes on the thing where the thing was. I'm gonna cut you. I'm cutting somebody. I was all by myself.
Yeah. Great. But that's a beautiful thing about, like, I appreciate that. But, there are people who are really trying to make it happen out here because we can't wait. We got to push forward how we can, how we can as safe as possible. But at the same time, like, that's why I've been waiting to do all the things I'm starting to do now for over 10 years. A lot of this has been in the making for a long time. It takes money, it takes time, it takes a lot of things other than you just want to do it. So we can't wait. And there's so many subjects to get to. Yeah, it takes support. That too. It takes
great support. And you've got to find that support. You guys have to find that support, and you have to support each other. You absolutely have to do it. Support each other. I don't care. We cannot find ourselves in the space where we are being cowards, being overly judgmental. You don't own it. You'll never own it. It's not yours. It's ours. Yeah. It's not you. Yeah. It's us. Mm-hmm. We have to get this done. We have to show the world, because I believe this coronavirus thing is just turns out that tap dancers are the best example for the world. Because we have to spend time with ourselves. Wood shedding.
A shed factor. Yep.
We have to sit and listen to that song. We have to sit and study that song. And anytime we're sitting, we got to remind our bodies that we're supposed to be dancing.
Yeah.
And the world does not know how to share that time with themselves. Be okay with sitting going, listening to boom, 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 boom. I got boom, 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 bigger. How did you get dig it? I established the dad, dig, Saturday, ding, 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 ding. What? From one thought to the next, but sit in a groove and rock that groove for about an hour. What?
Yeah.
The world is freaking out. We have to help them learn how to be okay with this. You know what I mean? Be okay with woosah.
Yeah. It's a scary thing. Just,
no
distractions.
No distractions.
nothing to, yeah, like we're really learning, people who either for themselves or other folks who like can't sit in silence, can't face themselves in the mirror. It's just too much time. It's
Whoa,
more than cabin.
whoa, say that
It's,
again. Come on now. We're digging. This is Church of Reverend Brigham. Digging in the house.
yeah, yeah, and it's
Lord.
not to be disrespectful to anybody.
No,
People have to find their own journey in it. But like you said, we can
right.
be an example or a bridge of like we have to
We are
face
that.
ourselves. Not
Absolutely.
yeah, we yeah. But I mean, just to get back to the Finest Henderson thing, for him, Rhythm Red, Crip Herd,
Patterson and Jackson.
Schoolboy Ford, Patterson and
Ooh.
Jackson.
What, schoolboy? You showing off now. You showing off. You showing off.
A little bit, but like there wasn't. We didn't have camera phone, or they didn't have camera phones then, so that's kind of a thing too. But I just asked about Finest Henderson because I don't know. I'm a teller myself, but I get aggravated sometimes when I'm trying to figure things out and I'm running out of like sources, or like there's no information, documentation. It's like, you know,
Right.
um, it would be nice to learn more, and that's why so far what you've shared, I'm already learning things,
Well, I
that I
think
didn't
that's
know.
why one of the things I think we should really start thinking about, um, because there's so many people. When I were even in 1989 was such a beautiful time for tap dance in America. When we were doing Black and Blue, not only was Brenda Buffalino and the American Tap Dance Orchestra kicking butt, but Diane and them were hanging out. I mean, Leon Collins had already laid all of his information on Diane Walker and them. Tap. We used to go at intermission. Tap was across the street at the movie theater across the street. We used to go at intermission. We would do a matinee run to see the movie Tap at intermission. We would come back and we would look at Jimmy and them like, we tap dancing. Look, and this is Savion. We tap dancing with movie stars. I'm like, you was in the movie too, man. Shut up. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
But the deal was that it
Man.
was such a wonderful time for tap dance, and people don't know. Lynn Dally, it was so many people were doing such great work at that time. And it, when we think about the tree, the historical tree, it would be so wonderful to go by decade and see what we can do. I was talking to Ben West, who is a historian in New York. And I'm trying to put my teams together for my works in order to, because I've got my first drafts down. I now have to put the underlying themes and the meat to my products together. So I'm trying to find choreographers that I want to work with. I want to find historians that can help me really solidify the information inside the project. So I called Ben West, and we were actually talking about this thing to really go in, because I know Finest was a part of a team, and he told me, but it's not documented anywhere, and I don't have the name of the team, and his wife just passed away. I don't have the name of the team. He was a part of a tap team. You know what I mean?
Wow. Here in Chicago?
Yes, he was a part of a tap team.
Yeah.
And he and I
And
did.
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm just curious. Do you know who his teacher or
No,
teachers
see,
or
what?
coach?
No, let me tell you where we miss it. Where we think we swinging,
Mm-hmm.
swing was their life. They grew up in the 30s
Mm.
and the 40s. The 30s and the 40s
Right.
was the pinnacle of swing. Swing. It was. I mean, we go out to the club and we go. They were swinging. They had Fletcher Henderson.
Mm.
They had. I mean, Chick Webb, Ella Fitzgerald. These were the babies of that time, killing the game. Imagine imagine the energy that you have now. Imagine, how old are you now?
47.
Oh, you old. When we
Sorry,
were
I'm
20,
30. I'm playing.
they were they were they were they were in their teens and 20s when swing was happening. Frankie Manning, the Savoy Ballroom, Club de Lisa, everything was swing. It wasn't a matter of whether you didn't have to go to a school. It was what they lived. You're talking about,
right.
I mean, it was not a, I mean, I was so, I mean, when I was doing Black and Blue, I'm telling you, I had to be, I would go change my clothes and come back down. It was an all-star jazz band. Sammy Davis Jr.'s bass player was in that band. Claude the Fiddler Williams. I mean, Sir Roland Hanna on the piano. We had, I mean, and then,
You're gonna have me
yes, every
looking through the
show.
booklet.
Listen, brother, let me tell you
Yeah.
this. Every show, every show,
Yeah. Sounds
every show,
familiar.
after the show, the curtain would come down and the band is swinging this. Spy la pop pow, wah pop do bop bip, wah yow, pop do bip, wah yow. You cannot not dance to that. We would dance. I mean, every show. I mean, the band is swinging.
Wow.
I mean, the singers are back there shaking. And I mean, it was, I mean, it was their lives. It was not a thing that they did. It was a thing that they lived. It wasn't about teaching.
Yep.
It was about, I mean, these cats on the corner trading rhythms. They in the grocery store trading rhythms. They go to the club and whatever they've been working on in the studio, they come and find off on each other. You know what I mean? It's like, what? Check this. I mean, but can you imagine the one? But it wasn't a betterment thing. It was a language. Swing was a way of life. It wasn't a thing that they did. It wasn't a thing they learned. It wasn't a thing they practiced. It was life. When when Frankie Manning, Fayard Nicholas, or Charlie Atkins would walk into the room of a rehearsal, the entire energy changed. I mean, it literally changed. You could feel the room change. They brought us into their world. I mean, after you gone, Charlie Atkins, shut the front door, man. Wednesday night hop, what? I mean, so where we are right now, we're in a place where commerce and survival and the business aspect of what we do, there is no wrong here. There is no wrong here. What you got to do? Swing, baby. Ha! Swing at it. I don't care what you doing. The best that oh slip like the best that oh oh I'm shot jabba oh that sika sap something got oh dip up the cap stuff you know what I mean? About stuff that oh dip up this up there spit papa booty you man so this I sip up the poop so if there's a paper, there's something that I should be baby. What you want to do? What you want to do?
Right.
You want to pop, pop, boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? Whatever you want to do, you got to swing at it, swing in it, go. Yeah. Just keep going. But we need to document this time somehow. And I am absolutely fortunate in that in the past 30 years, I've been a part of the 3 hit Broadway shows that we had. And it is the win. It is the win that makes the difference. We are now, I'm telling you, beyond the shadow of a doubt, Gregory would be over the moon. Over the moon. The difference is that we have somehow found a separation in the fibers of our connection. And we have to fight beyond that because we are We are family. We really are. Nobody could understand the type of medication that we need. You know, I had a girlfriend when I was in New York doing Black and Blue. My girlfriend, she used to tell me, baby, you got to stop. You can't walk down the street doing what you do. I'm like, what are you talking about? She said, you're talking to yourself. I said, I'm not talking to myself. I said, no, I'm trying to figure that rhythm out. He got stuff. The bigger, hugger, sugar, couch, the bigger, hugger, sugar, couch, the bigger. She said, you look crazy.
Right. Wow.
But I didn't care. We don't, nobody understands that language. Nobody understands that connection. But when we get on stage, I will have to say this to all of you listening. When you get on stage, it is no longer about you. Your responsibility is to communicate to your audience. Their mothers may be dying and they're coming to a tap show. Their grandmothers may need medication and they're coming to a tap show. You all are the best in 70 years. The prolific, your abilities are just awesome. Off the charts. You gotta make them care. You gotta help them understand what you're trying to say. You gotta help them understand that love you have for what we know about what connects all of us. Rhythm.
Wow. So it's such an obvious thing that I didn't think about when I asked who's Finest Henderson's teacher. Like you get to a certain point and it just, it was a little more organic than it is now. But
they were creating it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but I need to ask, because this is part one. We can't be here all night. We could be here all night.
We could.
But as usual, I have an outline and we're just at the top still, but one thing I want to ask you that I've wanted, I don't know if I've asked you before. Where did you find your love and skill in scatting? Like where did
Finest Shirley Hall Bass. I'm sitting there with a live band. When you listen to music, and when you listen to music is rhythm. The voice of the individual artist is their instrument. Saxophone player. You know what I mean? Guitar player. Each way, it's all rhythm. Finest, Shirley used to talk to when she would be talking to the arrangers. I mean, and this was the privilege of being at Sammy Dyer, because we would be doing the show and we would be studying the lines and we would be doing blocking, and then the arrangers would come in and say, Shirley, we got a band rehearsal. We need you to hit a song. We would be sitting watching the band rehearse. And she would go, no. The intro needs to go, we da pa to the beat, we pa 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 di to the and we would be like, she would sing it, and they would play it. He would go, give me 10 minutes, and he would write it out, and all of a sudden he go, whip this up to the beat, and we'd be up in there rocking because what she said, they played.
Right.
And then she would say, no, you have to calm down. I need something that would go like this. She says, in the middle of it, I need this. I need something lyrical that would go, we do dee do dee do dee dee do da. Whatever it was she did, it turned, and we saw all of that. So we're hearing her, crazy woman, going, 1 minute she's going, and the next minute she's going, and then the next thing she's like, you need to say these. This was the language that they spoke.
Yeah.
She didn't say, I need 3 bars of 8 notes, and the 5th note of the 3rd bar has to be. It came from her soul. It came out of her mind. Duke
Say that.
Ellington.
Yeah.
Duke Ellington had this interview, and the guy asked him. He said, "Do you still dream?" Duke Ellington turned around, put his hands on the piano, started playing, and he said, "That was a dream." Oh, what?
Right.
It was, but scatting is, but Jimmy Slide, Finest Henderson, and Jimmy Slide. Who else was it? Even at Rosalie Wilson Dance Academy, when you dance to a song, Jimmy was very, very adamant about this. When you dance to a song, not only do you learn the words, not only do you learn the form, but you must sing the melody.
Mm.
Because I'm not an improvisationalist. I suck. But when oh no, trust me, my thoughts don't come up in real time like that. The only time I can really improvise is when I'm scatting. Because there is no filter between my thoughts and what I hear.
Yeah.
I am actually telling my feet literally what to do.
Yeah.
And that is why Jimmy said, learn melody. He said, because you just can't. He said, this is boring. he said, you want to do this?
Right.
He says, no, every now and then you got to go, hold hallelujah down. You will be your out. Oh, baby, baby. Oh, baby, oh, baby, oh. Oh, baby, oh, divide, oh. Divided, oh, pops the pig, and it was the oh, Bob did, oh, the big, they do. Step up, did, oh, Bob did, oh, the oh, and then
right.
He said, but when you get to that 3rd course, go for it.
Yeah.
You know, so scatting is understanding music. Scatting is my way of, or even understanding when we did me and Anthony are going to do a thing on Gregory on the 14th.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about how we arranged, how you do dance arrangements. Because that's what we did for Jelly's Last Jam. When we were working with Black and Blue with Luther Henderson. And he and Charlie Atkins were talking about the arrangement of the song. You heard that same language. He's like, yeah, but he said, the music is going here. Can you catch it? Can you catch this? You know, and he would go, hey, and Luther would go, yeah, man. I mean, they were talking a whole nother language, and you loved it. You loved it because as tap dancers, a whole lot of the chorus dancers didn't get it. They didn't care. But tap dancers, we were like, oh, it's that. And you look at them across the room, Jimmy and them would be sitting there, and they go, huh? You go, yes, I know this. We know this. But it's language. It's the language of music. Music
exactly. And that makes sense. That makes sense because it's like if you grow up in a household where, you know, you're in America, everyone's speaking English, but you have a native tongue, you're going to pick up on that as well. So you just picked up on it because it was a natural thing happening around you. You didn't have to think about it.
It was they were living it, and we got to live it with them.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is maybe a weird question because sometimes as a teacher I struggle because I try to teach people things that I don't think I was taught. I just you know, but how
you know it.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of weird when someone says, "How did you obtain this skill or learn this thing?" And it's like I don't even know sometimes, you know.
Well, but you are connected. You have, and those are the things that keep us learning.
Yeah.
Those are the things that keep us learning because there is a method to the madness. If I say,
for sure,
there is a method to the madness. You know, I can count in and go, oh, ah, oh, ah, oh, I was did, oh, ah. If the band starts vamping, if I don't know how to tell them, give me 4 for nothing, or give me 8 for nothing. You know, let's swing 8 in. Give me an 8. Just give me an 8-bar intro. What song are you doing? I'm doing Au Pavar. You know what I mean? And like Au Pavar. Oh, you're brave. Any musician, you did Shima Sari. Really? Oh, you stretching, son. But if you do a regular AABA tune and you know your form, there are things that you feel even when you don't know. Your band, your environment that has that knowledge will teach you how to sit in it. And then you have to spend that time in the woodshed listening to that song, go, what did I do?
Yeah.
How did that work like that?
Right.
And then you can always ask a musician, hey man, what happened? I thought, and they tell you what you did was you did boom. But every dancer should know a little something about music theory.
For sure.
The other thing is you have to start with the tap dancers, with the instructors that are out there now. My God. I mean, the information is just so beautiful. When you watch Michelle Dorrance and you guys and Brill has a wonderful way of teaching. Who else? Michelle Dorrance, just my God. You know what I mean? Sarah Reich, shut up. Anthony Morgerato was a beast. I hate it. Ayodele, shut the front door.
Yeah.
What happens is every one of the students have to. Every student has to know that they're able to come to you and have those conversations. But first and foremost, trust yourself.
Right.
Trust your instincts.
Yeah.
Because you cannot dance. You cannot dance an idea unless it is true to you. You can present it.
Right.
You can perform it. But you cannot dance it. There's a difference between a dancer and someone who can dance. Taste the soup. Where's the spoon?
Boom. Yep.
Yeah, and just to be clear, I know you know, but like when I have to be careful because when I say things like I struggle as a teacher, then people are gonna think I don't know what I'm doing out here. I just mean,
doesn't. He really doesn't.
and I don't. No, but why I also ask that is because knowing for you something like scatting that came natural to you, like certain things that came natural to me. Do you feel like there's a way that you could teach scatting? I don't mean like now, but I mean like, is there a way?
I do. When we did Funk You, and Finest said this to me, and I put it on a t-shirt. If you can say it, you can do it. If you can sing it, you can swing it. Finest Henderson taught me that. And the deal was to find out I knew how to swing before I knew what swing was. Because swing is not a thing. I mean, I grew up with it. My introduction to jazz was this. Song be doom 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 doom be doom be doom be doom be doom be doom be doom doom be doom be doom be doom boom doom 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 boom blah blah blah. Count bases every day. I have the
blues.
Buy up. It was ridiculous. I'm sitting there, my father had one of those old hi-fi stereos. I was just done. All that coming at me. And that it was, and I just learned something recently.
Yeah.
The secret to Basie's band was his bass player.
That's where you started just now.
No, where I started was Count Basie. Count Basie was playing that.
Okay, right. Yeah.
He was playing that with one hand. Dingo boom boom dingo boom.
Yeah, I'm hearing the left side. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And that was Count Basie.
Right.
And all of a sudden, and even if you listen to Moten Swing, he does the same thing. But Count Basie had a metronome. He had an internal metronome. And I think swing is internal.
Yeah.
I think time is internal. And to teach it, I think what you have to absolutely do is find that kind of music that allows your dancers. And then you that's what Jimmy Slide and Lon Chaney taught me how to woodshed. You got to go in testing your emotional state, your mental state, and your physical state by locking in your rudiments.
Right.
Set your rudiments, set your internal metronome, set your head. Your body will tell you what you can do that day, but you got to go in with that time. Set your internal metronome, set your rudiments, because once you know a rhythm, you can sing that rhythm, swing that rhythm every day of the week. Yeah, every day. I have the blues.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
nobody loves me.
Right. Man, that's one of those tunes where I knew it before I met you and had a relationship with you, but
Oh.
you played it and I just it was then I understood it.
Yeah, but you cannot hear that song without going nuts, because it's the ultimate musical conversation. I think Wynton Marsalis said that jazz is the greatest exponent of what a democracy is. Because you don't just have to play. You have to listen. You have to find your moment to be a part of the collective, and then understand what the motivation is for the unit, and find your moment to speak for yourself. But for the time that you are with that unit, you got to be a part of that unit. You got to hear it, feel it, see it, and share it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And time.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Well, this is great.
Yeah, no, it really is. And you know what? Like, for those who are tuned in, you know, I appreciate you tuning in, because you better be.
This was supposed to be an hour.
Right, yeah. I mean, I kind of thought I kind of knew we'd go probably up to 2. But man, like it's so hard with these things to cut it off, because what you said when you were saying, like, kind of us documenting things and all that, that's what I'm trying to do here. Most things that anybody will see me doing, I've been planning to do it for a long time before I actually did it. And I just have heard so many conversations of this is an oral history.
We got to start documenting. We got to start documenting, because this time is unique. And I'm telling you, you guys have tap dancers may be scared, but they're never afraid. You know what I mean? And scared is healthy thing. It's like you stand in the wing, you scared because you don't want to mess up out there, but you're not afraid to go out there. You know what I mean? I just think that this time right now, your courage, the courage that all of you, the young dancers, have right now, the strength that you have, the imaginations that you have, the willingness that you have to reach out, what you're doing is just absolutely awesome. Hanging out with Anthony Margerato has just been such an amazing, a powerful motivation for me, because he is such a different thinker, and I love different thinkers. Yeah. You know, I love people who think different, because if we all knew the same thing, conversation would be terrible. It would be boring. Hello. You know what I mean? Right. But it's you thinking different. I think you should know it is an oral history, because at one time in the African American journey, we were not taught to read or write. We were actually discouraged from reading or writing. Our history was discarded. And the thing that was even more beautiful about that is that even with the history that we have that is written down, we were never afraid to share it. We were never ones to withhold the magnitude and the magnificence of our gifts. We put it out there. Louis Armstrong being one of the most outstanding proponents, Bill Robinson also being any singer, artist. I mean, every time you cut on a light, a black man, created that filament. You stop at a street light, it was a black man who did that. We're not afraid to share. We want to make the world a better place. So when you hear these people talking, when you hear naysayers, there's a difference between hearing and listening. And you have to make the choice as to whether you're going to hear what they say or listen to it. Or you're going to listen to it and not hear it because it's worthless. Naysayers offer, and when the people talk to you about they're talking to you about nothing, because none of us has created any of this. What we have to do right now is really take the understanding. Every time you dance, Nico, oh my God, I love your show. I love your show. Let me tell you one of the things I love most. Flew around all the turk. It was killing. It was killing. It was murderous. It was murderous. But that information, the information that went into that number was just so awesome. It's great that we have it on film. But the other side of the coin is that that's a conversation that I would love to see you have with the choreographer and the three dancers about what it meant to even tackle a tune like that.
Yeah, we got to do that. I talked to Trey. Trey was actually the first person I had on the podcast because honestly, like, few people.
Yeah. He stole my show. Don't talk to me about that.
Right. Yeah, but like it would be really dope to have Lisa as well and Jessica to talk about those early times because we came from such a major thing with such a high bar to try, to go in. Yeah.
What?
And then and that was
you had to do it.
And that's how we transitioned.
It was
we went from mad to just listen with that piece, and that's all Trey. We did.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. All y'all were there together. And the thing is that's why I say there's a difference between being scared and being afraid. Because I know when he heard that, for him to decide to tackle it took the greatest amount of courage. But he could not have done that without knowing that he had you all as the wind beneath his wings, artistic wings. So that's it spoke to me when I saw it. I saw that. And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was there, but y'all were there too.
Yeah. And just getting back to what I was saying with the oral history thing, we do need to document. But what's easy?
Gotta write it down.
What's easy about at least this is at least this
film.
It's documented now.
It's documented.
So
and I look good. Don't I look good? I look good.
Yeah, I was like, should I wear a collar? I should have dressed better.
You gotta be you.
Right.
It's killing.
Yeah. I'm trying to show range so people ain't gonna think I'm gonna have the same hat and shirt every time.
That's right, baby. You just gotta come with the surprise.
Right.
Next show that we do together, I got a surprise.
Oh, I already know. But right. But no, like I said, the beautiful thing about this is years ago, before I was ever driving, while I was still living at my family's house, while I was waiting on the train, when podcasts first came out, I was listening to them like, oh my God, like just audio, not video. Like we need a tap podcast. And this was before I thought that I would want to do one. I'm like, whoever does, but fast forward to now, this is at least a way to encapsulate conversations that we have anyways. We would be having this conversation whether the cameras were rolling or not. But we might as well have some of them that can be documented because it'll be so much easier to write it from here if when the time comes.
Well, you're talking about transposition.
Exactly.
The thing is that I would encourage every artist who is thinking in the realm that you're thinking. We have to remember to forget that we're talking to each other.
Right. Yeah.
We have to remember that the most important aspect of a gift is the giving of it. And And I learned that when Jimmy told me that joke. And I went out there and got the best applause I ever got. And I didn't even do anything. And he said, oh, you thought it was about you. Because I worked on, he taught me how to do 8 bars. I went and worked on that 8 bars. It was my first 8. I knew how to do 8 bars because Shirley had taught me. She had choreographed it for me. But for me to create my own 8 bars, and I had never done that. And they told me if I didn't know how to frame my statement, they were going to throw me out of the hoofers line. Jimmy didn't want me out. He said, come in. Count to 8. And I counted to 8. He said, do it 3 times. 8. 1. He says, yeah. Now count to 4. And he said, 1, 2, 3. He said, count it 8 times. I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. He said, do 8 counts 3 times, and then give me 2 separate 8 counts. So I went home and I learned 2 separate 8 counts. I came to the theater. This is no joke. I came to the theater. He told me, he said, do the first 8 3 times and then do the last 2 after it. I was on the stage. I didn't know how to get from left to right. But when I did the first one, he said, now you got to hit the left. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You hit the left. Yeah. I mean, he's back to the right. When I hit that break, the whole band, everybody was like, yes!
Right.
Because they saw me trying really hard, but I didn't know how to structure. So the thing that I think that we have to remember, when I did that, first 8 bars, the band screamed, the audience screamed. It had nothing to do with me. It had everything to do with the energy that was there for the audience. You understand? If you want to dance for yourself, you dance for yourself. But the minute you hit that stage, you have a responsibility to the stage and to your craft to make sure it's translated to those people you're trying to communicate to. You have to pay attention to that. These conversations that we're having are not just about tap dance. They're about life. They're about us. I mean, a lot of times, I mean, we just came through 4 years of somebody just talking about themselves. You know what I mean? And what? The whole world is watching us. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And as tap dancers, the whole world, I mean, I am never afraid to go out on the stage when I can look to the left of me and I see somebody like Diane on the stage left and I can see Trey on stage right. You know what I mean? Even though they stole my song,
Exactly. No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have to make sure that we can translate even these conversations, even that history. That history has to be translated. I'm not animated because I'm performing. I'm animated because Shirley Hall Bass showed me her passion. I'm not afraid of my passion. My passion is my power. My passion is my love for it. My scatting is me being able to take what I know is in my heart. I have the hardest time pulling it out in my feet, but that's not your business. That's my business. That's what I'm doing in the shed. But when I'm with you, I know you know, I can say it to you because I know you know what I mean, how I feel. You know what I mean? And then the whole world will get it because even though they didn't live swing, they hear it. They hear it. Every song has a form. Blues, 4 bar, 8 bar, 12 bar. Jazz, basic, AABA, unless you go ABBA or ABCBA or whatever it is. However you decide to flip it up, people still understand the term. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. All we have to do is make sure that they're included. We have to include our world.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an interesting thing I try to keep in mind as we do this, without cutting off the guest, is to sometimes mention, just like you were saying at one point, the Club de Lisa. It was this thing before we get too far ahead of people
Right.
who are tuning in who aren't tap dancers, because
Right.
thankfully, I have people who I'm in many different circles my entire life, and I have people who are supporting who don't know of these things, but they're coming to the table anyways. So a little
Right.
translation, transcoding,
Right.
every now and then. But one thing, so I always end with this tap nerd segment of just asking a few questions. But before we
Okay.
get to that, part two, I saw today. It's crazy. Like as soon as I saw or as soon as I put up our promo for this today, I saw Anthony talking about y'all's conversation,
On the
on
14th.
yeah. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll stay off of Jelly's last jam.
Oh,
you know
Gregory is a whole nother conversation. He's a
exactly.
whole conversation by itself. But Jelly's Last Jam, just real quick, was one of those shows where we were able to. Black and Blue was a straight review. A musical review. A musical review now is an insult to the evolution of where tap has gone, because when we did Black and Blue on Broadway, Gregory had already did Cotton Club, White Nights, and tap. So we had seen the conversation change. By the time we did Jelly's Last Jam, we were having a conversation on stage in front of 800 people a night that you and I already know about. And that is tap being, rhythm being the language of music.
Yeah.
So that evolution was what that was. Jelly's Last Jam was us being able to do that on a Broadway stage, brother. On a Broadway stage, inside the confines of so. But this is why I encourage everybody. I encourage us. I encourage all of us right now. I encourage us. I'm asking you, make sure you can find a way. Song for My Father, all of those things that you guys did in your show, there are ways that you can include me in that setup. I love the way you segued your show. I love the way you segued your show. But as long as I'm alive, don't ever forget not to call me and help me be wrong about some stuff. You know what I mean? Let me be the old person. No, but I can be the old person that can tell you everything, that, and then you can tell me, okay, that's wonderful, and then don't use none of it.
Right. Well, I mean, I just appreciate that. It's so interesting because I don't mean to say this to make anyone feel left out, but there's a certain thing between Chicago artists, a certain understanding, and all of that. It'll always be that.
It'll always be that. Yes, it will.
And I'm glad that we can have that back and forth that we've had here and there. Where when I told you of this Jay Dilla show I was doing, and we had a discourse on that, and it's interesting because it's with no disrespect, of course, and this isn't for you because you already know. This is for anyone who might be like.
No, but the other side of the coin is that as an artist, everybody should know this. You don't get to, and I know people who, if you don't like what I'm doing, then I don't like you. No, you don't get to choose what people like. All you get to choose is to say what you got to say. The beautiful part of that is that you're a part, you are brave enough. Every artist that I know, I'm just proud of you because you're brave enough to decide to be a part of the conversation that is bigger than you. I'm going to say this. Now, let's fight about it. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss whether, because I don't have to believe. Listen, I say this is the way you do a shuffle. If you don't do the shuffle the way I do it, what am I going to do? Am I going to call the mafia and tell them this way, live? I'm going to pay you this much. You got to cut his pinky toe off. And then so he can, you know what I mean? What?
Right.
What? It's stupid. The bottom line to art is that it's the gift of art is the fact that you can give it.
Yeah.
You can offer a perspective that broadens the conversation. It's just that. So offend somebody if you have to. If they're offended by it, then at least you understand what that offense is. If they are offended with and they're closed about it, then you don't have an opportunity to share a perspective that may broaden their minds. But you had the courage to put it on the table for discussion,
Yeah.
which means a greater understanding for what you do and for what we all share together, because they were there. First of all, whether they like it or not, they were there. And there's value in that. If they came and they didn't like it, they were there. That makes the conversation right there exponentialized.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And so, man, wow, it's so crazy because again, it's always like I have a scroll of things to talk about, and we're just at the top. We're just at the top. But you know, before we get to these final questions, I feel like I'm already figuring out the answer. This is maybe something that I was curious about until our discussion now, and I feel like I maybe know the answer, but in the future we have to talk about Noise Funk and Funk You. We have to talk about Jelly's Last Jam. You know, we covered Black and Blue a little bit, but I have so many questions.
Well, I'll tell you this real quick. Jelly's Last Jam was the gift that I didn't see coming. First time I danced with Gregory Hines, it was at the Woodpeckers, at Brenda Buffalino's Woodpecker Studio. Yeah. And we did, and this is how I know about good publicity and really being able to reach out to your audience. We did a show at Woodpeckers Monday night. It was a 100-seat house, 10 tickets sold. Wednesday, 15 tickets sold. Thursday, 100-seat house, maybe 35 tickets sold. Nobody knew who Ted Levy was. Nobody cared. I did Black and Blue. Who cared? Friday morning, I had done a benefit for Brenda before, and Cynthia Kirk, who was her publicist, took some pictures. I was cute, by the way, for those of you who are watching.
Right.
She took some pictures Friday morning of the show. My picture shows up in every New York newspaper in New York. By 12 noon, there were 400 reservations for a 100-seat house. We did the show that night. People were lined up around the corner. Ted who? Ted who? Publicity. It was publicity. If people know you're there, they will come. If you give them something to leave with, they will come back. Gregory shows up that night with his shoes and a brown paper bag. Intermission. I'm over the moon. Gregory Hines is in the audience. I never danced with him before. He was in the audience, and I just wanted to say, if intermission came, he was sitting there with his shoes in a brown paper bag, and I said hello to him. I said, Gregory, hi. And he had this little look on his face, like, talk to me, please. I was like, what the? I was like, great. I say, thank you so much for coming, man. He's like, yeah. I'm happy to be here, Ted. I was like, Ted, don't mess this up. Don't do this, Ted. Don't do it. I said, don't do it, Ted. I said, Greg, are we dancing? Man, you could have blew me over with a feather. He said, may I please? I was like, what? So the second part of the show came, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, it is our job. Tonight is a very special night because we have a young man in the audience. This is his first. He's been tap dancing. Just started tap dancing. He's here tonight. He wants to dance for us. This is our job to help young people, encourage young people to come out and dance. He's scared to death. He wants to dance for us. Please give him a round of applause and bring him to the stage, please. And I said, no, this is his first time, ladies and gentlemen. He's out here and he wants to come and dance for us. And let's encourage him. And I said, no, this is his first time. He's never danced, but he wants to dance for us. I did full Bill Cosby. I said, he wants to dance. I said, please give it. The audience went, yeah. I said, ladies and gentlemen, Gregory Hines. The place went up in smoke.
Right.
They went up in smoke. He danced. We had a great time. And he called me and he says, Ted, I want to dance with you. I want you to work with me. It was the gift that I didn't see coming. You know what I mean? Noise Funk. Noise, after Jelly's Last Jam, we were on tour. I did the tour. with Jelly's Last Jam, George Wolfe and Savion Glover were trying to figure out how to work together. They didn't know how to work together. So they called me and asked me if I can help them work together, help them figure out how to do this. So I asked Savion what he was thinking about, and I asked George what he was thinking about. And George says, "What do you need?" I said, "I need a theater." They gave me the theater in Delacorte in Central Park.
Shakespeare Theater?
Shakespeare in the Park. And they said, "You got a theater, you got a crew, you got whatever you need." We put the concert together. That concert was the beginning. That was where George was selling the possibility of him and George. Gregory called me and said, "Ted, you never did a concert like that for me." And I told him, I said, "You got the Tony, right?" He says, "Oh, yeah." We did, but it was, listen, it was not so much. We can talk about Funk You later.
Yeah.
Or what it was, even with Black and Blue. I got Black and Blue because somebody reached out. You understand?
Right.
I got Jelly's Jam because Gregory reached out. Bringing the Noise, Bringing the Funk happened because George and Savion reached out. The best thing we can continue to do is to reach out to each other. You understand? That's the lesson in all of that. I am grateful to have been there. I'm absolutely grateful to be here. And I look forward to seeing great things. I want to direct one of your shows. I want to direct it. I want to fight with you. I want to talk about you. I want to talk about your family. I want to talk.
Yeah, we already know what it would be, but it would be beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, and with the single malt, with the Nello vibe in the room.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the only thing I regret, that we didn't have a drink before he because we were supposed to, every time I come to Chicago, we were supposed to sit down and do what we do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah. He was on his own vibe. He come to the show and he is out afterwards before we, before the 30-minute wait before we make it out from backstage, So. Yeah, but it's all good. He contributed just like the names that some people don't know. There's always somebody behind the scenes who's providing, whether it's the libations in his situation or whatever.
There's the support.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that other energy, that other real life energy, we have to remember that. All of those little things matter. They absolutely, every little moment matter. Gregory, I can't even do that. I have to, because that's me and Anthony. I have to talk.
Yeah. I'm trying to help save y'all some.
You gotta save me, because Anthony gonna talk about me like a dog after I
Well, so the one thing I want to ask before we get to these questions, like I said, we'll get to more of this, and I appreciate you sharing what you've shared so far.
I love you, man.
Love you too. You already know. But man, was it at Sammy Dyer, with all of what you shared with us, that you learned
everything.
of the
everything?
Yeah.
I said everything. Everything I know. Lighting, mood, selling a moment, creating a moment, trusting what you think, fighting for what you feel, taking a chance on what you think you know, and watching it come out right. What? Greg, me and, oh my God, Savion, George Wolfe, when I did Funk You, when we did the concert in the park, George Wolfe told me, he says, "Ted, we did it on 2 General of Verona." George says, "Ted, can I do XYZ and XYZ?" I said, "Okay." George says, "Ted, you cannot do XYZ and XYZ." I said, okay, George. Every time I saw him, he was like, "Ted." I was like, "George, okay." Everything he told me not to do, I did it. Everything he told me not to do, I did. But the difference was that he had to do management.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that. The worst thing he could do was fire me.
Right.
But the best thing I could do for him was to make sure he won.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly.
And that's why I'm here with you. That's why I love working with Anthony. That's why I love working with Barbara right now. I mean, we're working together because the best thing that we can do is help each other win.
Exactly.
I don't care if you don't like what I say. Let's go win.
Yes.
Tap dance deserves it. And tap dance deserved it. When we did Funk You, the things I said to those young men, the things they told me about themselves, the thing they showed, they surrendered, they learned. We fought. I cussed them out. I talked about their mamas in front of their face. Then I told their mamas, say that.
Right. Yeah.
But we got to truth. We got to because a lot of people think about process. And they think about, but if you think about the things that you really experience in life, it takes that grind. It takes that dirt. It takes that ugly conversation, that wrong look. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to fight for something that's deeper than hi. The square root of the hypotenuse is manifested. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We, as tap dancers, don't have the long form we can play with.
Yeah.
Right. So when you see me grit on you, it's because I already know you up against the wall when you come in through the door. Right.
And just to share, some perspective for, those who might not be tap dancers, if you're a sports fan, if you know about the Chicago Bulls, there's a documentary that came out, The Last Dance. And I don't know if you've seen this, Ted, but man, you can say whatever you want to say about Michael Jordan, but he did what he needed to do to get the job done. Like you just said a minute ago, we're trying to win.
We're trying to win.
You can't be everyone's favorite when you're trying to win. If I'm gonna be honest, that's a battle of mine sometimes because we're in a time.
It's a battle of yours all the time. All the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're trying to
it's just we're in a more. We're in a very sensitive time, and it's kind of tricky because feelings get hurt a little sooner.
It's not tricky when you care.
Yeah.
Not tricky when you listen. Not tricky when you understand how to swing. When you understand the democracy or the value in democracy.
Yeah.
I need to hear what you got to say. So if I don't agree with it, and I know that it's a little rough for you, I'm going to take a little minute. I may take a little time to get you to try to see it different if I think it's going to help you, not my point of view. Because a lot of times you hear people think about what they believe versus what is necessary for what we're trying to believe in the now. We now need, you called me up yesterday. Let's do this. I had a date with myself tonight, and you.
Yep, interruption.
But right now, I heard you.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
And here we are, man. And I appreciate you for being here because, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. As much as I try to plan and prepare, life will always swing in the direction it swings.
10 minutes behind the game.
Yeah, you already know.
But that's why what I loved about Michael Jordan, what I loved about watching Michael Jordan, and when you talk to tap dancers who enjoy sports, there's a whole nother mentality to how they approach things. What I loved about Michael Jordan, when even watching Michael Jordan, Walter Payton with the Bears, because I grew up with Walter Payton and the Bears.
Yeah.
Walter Payton was a dancer to me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you look at Walter Payton, they just couldn't. The man, it was something they couldn't hold him down. This cat would turn and twist and flip and whip. I'm like, what? And I know Richard Dent went and took ballet, but Walter Payton tap danced. I saw him tap dance. I saw it. I was like, whoa, look at the rhythm on that. I could see it.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, by the time he had let go of that ball, his head was already down court.
Yep.
His head. I mean, and when I saw that, I don't know who I was with. I don't know if I was with Pops or what. But I was like, what? Is it me? Or is he not there? He gone. That's a hell of a thought process. And I have to say, when you work with people like one of my heroes, George Faison. He's a choreographer. Work with these people like that, like George Faison. They're always asking the question.
Mm-hmm.
They're not looking for the answer. They're always asking the question because they're never satisfied with the picture they just painted or the observation they just received from what they thought they put out there. Right. And George Faison used to always say, are we there? We did 5 years worth of rehearsal. He go, but are we there? Is that it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what artists do.
Mm-hmm. Man.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give these last questions in a moment. And just before we get to that, for me to do some housekeeping and some promotion, this is the first. This is the first of our Black History Month interviews. Yeah, interviews for the Real Talk Tap Talks for this podcast. I'm a tap dancer. If you're a tap dancer, Black History is 365. You know, it's not just a month long, but
24/7, 365. Yeah.
Yep. But in honor of every Friday, we're going to at 6 p.m. or 6:10 or 6:12, we will be interviewing folks. And our focus for this month is Chicago history, because I feel like not enough people know, including myself. As much as I've dug up and learned, there's still so much to learn to share. Yeah. So we're starting here with it. And, the other thing is for this month on Saturdays through this YouTube page, we're going to be releasing some videos of performances from our end of the year show. So you can see some of these things that we were talking about.
They stole my steps.
We stole his steps. So you can see the proof. It'll be there. But as much work as me and everybody who is a part of it did, we can't just have it be a one-time thing only. We want to share these things with folks. So Fridays we have, thank you. Fridays we have the podcast, and Saturdays we'll release some videos for your viewing pleasures. But this last portion of the show is like what I call the Tap Nerd section. Just some quick questions, quick answers to better get to know you.
Okay.
Sip the tea. So the first question would be,
her name was
right. What would you say? Who would you say? And this is a very difficult question. Who would you say are your top 3 to 5 tap dancers?
Baby Lawrence, for sure. Well, Uriel Foster, Finest Henderson, Baby Lawrence, Jimmy Slide.
Yeah.
I have an issue here because along with Gregory Hines, I have to say Mabel Lee. I have to say Mabel Lee because Mabel Lee, people sleep on Mabel Lee. Mabel Lee, I worked with Mabel Lee in the dirt, baby. I'm talking about when we were on Broadway and they were hustling. And they invited me to a gig. I saw Mabel Lee. And Mabel Lee, a lot of people didn't know that Mabel Lee was a hoofer.
Mm.
She was one of the hoofers.
Like a lot of the chorus girls. Like a lot of the chorus girls, that's not the side you saw.
See, but that goes back to that conversation me and you had.
Mm-hmm.
Swing was what they did.
Yeah.
But for those women who could hang with the men, you understand? Maybelline. For me. I mean, but Gregory favorite because of, I mean, as a tap dancer, I mean, Gregory was not a joke. He was not a joke.
Yeah.
Maybelline. Oh my God, I wish I could. Maybelline kicked my butt with some, she kicked my butt. She pulled the same over the tops on me that Finest did it with me in 3-inch heels. In the street. She kicked my butt. She told me, you think you something? You kicked my butt. So there it is. In 3-inch heel, she pulled her skirt up and said, you think you something? Hit this. And she did it in the middle of the street. And Tina Pratt was there. Lord, Tina Pratt, they laughed at me the whole night. Tina Pratt was there because I was a young buck. Tina Pratt was there, Lauren Chaney was there, and Ralph Brown was there. It was me, Tina, Ralph, and Lauren. We did a job at a college, and we were going, and I just wasn't. And then when we danced that night, Ralph Brown said, "Hold on." I mean, she swung so beautifully, and she didn't do that all the time. And thank God for Tony Vaughn, because he took such great care of her. And and those are the unsung heroes. Tina Pratt.
Yeah. Yep. And I have to say and I have to say for Maybelline, folks like Allie Bradley and Michaela Lerman,
they got it.
Yeah.
They got it.
Yeah,
they got it.
And for anybody at home, you're gonna watch Gregory Hines. You're gonna watch Jimmy slide. Your fingers will do the typing, but look up Maybelline, look up these other folks that we're talking about, because through the footage nights that I've done, I've dug deeper than ever before, and I had like a whole week that I was spending on women in tap. And Maybelline, like when I started going through her credits and all her everything. Yeah, y'all. It's not as hard as you might think if you just do the research. You just have to.
We talking about. It's just. But when you talk, you're talking about legend. It's hard to put. If I did 5 contemporary, that would be another conversation for the next show.
Exactly. We'll hold that.
That.
So next question, what would you say is a musical artist that you have danced to the most? Not who you like to dance to, but if you somehow could see who you go.
Count Basie, Nat King Cole. Joe Williams. Count Basie, I relate. I relate Count Basie to Joe Williams. But it would be Count Basie, Joe Williams, Nat King Cole, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan. One honorable mention. Little Jimmy Scott. Ooh.
You might have got me there.
Yeah, baby.
I might look it up and find out somebody that I do know already or not and beat myself up or not.
If you ever hear Nancy Wilson, that's where she got her style from. Little Jimmy Scott was one of those unsung heroes.
Yeah, that's my lane right there.
Ooh,
the unsung heroes. That's where my digging is at all times.
But that's to me. You and I should talk about that. But to me, that's where the funding goes, because when you learn those things, you find the connectivity from then to now and from you to me. You know what I mean? Because that's the track we play on. If we were construction workers, we would be looking at those cats. You know what I mean?
Right.
But those a lot of those tap dancers, John Pablo. It's hard to put. But for me, I'm dealing with people that I'm connected to. It's hard to just not do. And then Teddy Hale, that one clip, Jesus. It's just hard
Yeah,
to. Woo.
I got to share
And
something with you because. Oh no, what
go.
were you gonna say?
No peg leg. What? That
Yeah,
white
and we got to
suit?
talk about that. We got to talk about that next time too. I have
Oh,
questions, so many questions for that country club he had, like that.
oh,
You being there,
back in
I'm
the. Oh,
so jealous of that. But
yes, you should be. You should be because we had a ball.
it looked like it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had.
Oh my.
But all of that was his energy. All of that. It's like even Black and Blue was just such a huge lesson for me. I came from that because my mentor danced with my mother. Shirley Hall Bass danced with my mother back in the 40s. This was what their lives were. They were not telling me about the history. They lived it. You did? I mean, they were being hit on. Shirley was 14 years old, being hit on by Joe Williams and being hit on by the Cab Calloway and all of them. You know what I mean? But my father was the wall that stood between them. And, I'm just so grateful to be connected to it. But to be here with you all right now, if they saw y'all, they would love you. They would just love you. They would love you. You guys are killing. All of you killing. I hate Sydney Burtis. She's killing. Tommy Wasuda. Jeffrey. Andre Imanishi. What?
Mhm.
What?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Out there. What? Jeffrey.
Yeah.
What's Jeffrey's last name?
Dawson.
I hate him. Somebody need to cut him. Somebody cut Jeffrey. You know what I mean? Are you Deli? What? I mean, just you, Trey. What? Star Dixon cut me last year on the show that I was on. I invited her to dance with me. She cut me. I'm like, why, Star? Why?
Hey, y'all got to stop inviting Star out to your stages because y'all gonna learn.
No mercy. And one of the most beautiful dancers I know is Barbara Duffy. I mean, Barbara is a beautiful, and Anthony is he's such a musician. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you, I'm in love with you. You always my baby boy. You always my baby boy. I'm so proud of Trey Dumas. I love Trey. What? It's just too much. It's it's really nice. It's what do you call it? I think George Clooney called it an embarrassment of fortune. I mean, to have so much wonderful talent in the midst of our lives right now.
Yeah.
It's an embarrassment of fortune, and I'm happy to be embarrassed by it.
That's hilarious and beautiful at the same time. I mean, it's one of the great things about tap that people, when you're honest about your journey and being true to yourself, learning what you've learned, taking notes, but you internalize that and find your own thing, then we could bring something different to the table.
Except this. Every one of you. You can post this if you want. Except this. This is who you are. You do not have to make an excuse for it. Be it, enjoy it, share it, love it, share the love of it. Just go, man. Let them take it however they wish. Go.
Yeah.
You're right.
Wow.
Every one of you are right. Everybody but Jeffrey.
Yeah, Jeffrey, watch out.
Watch out, Jeffrey. My left foot is coming for you, Jeffrey.
So we just have
my baby boy, Josh Nixon. I love you, Josh. Go.
Yeah. Yep. Shout out to everybody that Ted just mentioned. So, if you could collaborate with any musical artist who is no longer here, just one, who would you choose? These are all trivial questions, I don't know.
No, that's not trivial. That's not trivial. The issue with that is when we did the concert in the park. See, I don't. Well, even when I do a concert, I don't see every element of a concert as, and this is something Shirley taught me, I don't see every element of the concert as being a part of the whole concert. I see each element of the concert as being articulated inside the confines of the concert, in that each element can stand on its own.
Mm-hmm.
In that you can mix and match as you wish. The one artist that would just make me know that there is a God is to be standing in my tap shoes on a stage with the perfect sound, and Ella Fitzgerald is singing while I'm tap dancing.
Right.
It's like, the hills are alive.
With the sound of right.
I love you.
Yeah. I got you.
I mean, she's the only singer I have ever heard, watched. There's a thing that she did with with Duke Ellington, and he was playing, and I think she was singing a Tisket a Tasket. She turned her voice into a bass with a bow. She went in on it. Duke Ellington was like, I loved it. But just so you know, boy do wee, boy do wee. Five little love you, boy, love you, boy. Boy do wee, boy do wee. Sorry you my you love you wee. Boy la do day, body you la do dee. But you did it, do more you did not live through it, more you did not live through it. Merrily we roll along on the deep blue sea. Boy, 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 oh no, no way. Redeem did not live out. Redeem did not live out. Redeem did not live out. Do it, we. So do it. So do it, boo. We do la do ne, boy. Do sit that boy. Pop do it, wait. Pop do it, boy. Boy, do skibby la no matter no matter the boy. So we do it, do it. Boy, do it. Boy, do it. Horses, to be do. Boy, do it. Boy, do it. Boy, do it. Boy, really bop. Bop, really bop. Sup, la da 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 da. Wham! So do dee, boy, do it. So do dee, so do boy. So do dee, do it. Skip dee, do boy. Skip dee, do boy. Skip dee, do that. No that. Bye, rip, bye. That is Ella Fitzgerald's scat version of Flying Home. That is how much I love that woman. I wrote the phonetics of her scat out because I want some fierce singer to sing it while y'all dancing. I want to set that piece on a bunch of tap dancers. I want y'all to do that piece while we get a singer to kill that. I wrote it out. I wrote the phonetics. I have written it. Spent 2 years just listening. My God, that's my dream.
Yeah. Well, All I'll say is, I know that people would love to fight tooth and nail to be the choreographer, and I will or won't fight hard, but I can do it. That's all I know.
No, I'm gonna say this to you. I'm gonna say this to you. I want you to know this, and I mean it. I have Anthony and Barbara and I. Barbara, they're really helping me focus myself on making sure I can complete the works and find funding for these works. I've done first draft, but we need workshops. Jelly's Ice Jam, Bring the Noise, Bring the Funk. They were ideas until we had funding that helped us get together and put those ideas together. I absolutely expect to work with you in a choreographic perspective at some point. And I heard you sing, so that's another conversation.
Watch
But
out.
I really do look forward. I've done the work. I've done the work writing. I'm now fighting for funding, and I look forward to working with different teams of choreographers that can help me move. I would love to fight. None of my projects are all tap. They're multi, but a tap dancer as a choreographer, a contemporary tap dancer will be in that room. I'm very excited about that. That is my dream now. That's my dream now. To be able to say, yes, I did that for them. Yes, yes. Just like Gregory just said, I was responsible. Ted got his Tony nomination because of me.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. We'll make it happen if we can, and big up to Barbara and Anthony for helping, because
they are blessings in my life right now.
Yeah, we all need those support systems.
Yes, we do.
But so two questions and then we're out. If you could hang with one tap dancer who's no longer with us for a day, and I didn't mean to call these questions trivial.
No,
I don't even know how to I don't know how to describe them. It's just things that, at least as far as I know, we can't do right now, but it's just fun to imagine, and it's fantastical. So, so no pressure.
Only tap dancer. I mean, and I have to really say that I've been blessed because I've been blessed because Finest, my mentor, knew all of these cats. Jimmy and Lon Chaney taught me how to woodshed, and they didn't teach me because they told me. They went into rehearsal with me. We spent a couple of hours together in the studio, and I can't even tell you. I mean, I'm, right now it's a little.
Mm-hmm.
Ralph Brown used to take my money playing cards with me, telling me stories about tap dancers. He told me about when Dizzy Gillespie stabbed Cab Calloway in the butt, but in the same time, before we would go on stage on a nightly basis, he'd give me a little piece of information. You know what I mean? Jimmy Slide, every time we were together, we were trading a couple little things, baubles here and there. Finest, the time that I spent with him, you could never pay people for that. Shirley, wow. I mean, Cafe Le Cave on First, man. It was an education. It was an education. I mean, but everybody showed up. Chuck Green. I mean, I'm standing on the side, somebody on the stage dancing, and all of a sudden we on the side rocking the rhythm together. You like, what? Am I really here? You know what I mean? I mean, you rocking the rhythm with Chuck Green. You're like, what?
I don't know what you mean, but I know what you mean. Yes.
But yeah, I mean, you know what I mean?
I wish I could know what you mean. I wish I was there.
So it's like, only,
man.
I mean, when I think about George Hillman, even George Hillman, you know what I mean? Bunny Briggs, the lessons that I think I got, I don't even know the lessons I got, because the only time it comes out is when we're having these conversations. But it's almost surreal in a way. You're like, was I really there? But it's like, it fuels my writing. I think one dancer, I mean, I've been with Charlie Atkins. Charlie Atkins, when we were rehearsing for Black and Blue, he gave me a step that I'm still working on today.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? He gave me a step. From Out of the Room, the only two people that he's worked with was Diane Walker and Bernard Manners. And he called me, he said, "You're a cocky little something." He said, "Well, come here, let me show you this." But the difference was that everybody else was on lunch break. I was dancing. He goes, "Are you gonna eat?" I'm like, "Yeah, in a minute." And I'd be dancing. He walk out the room laughing. And all the tap dancers, all of the hoofers, when they came back, they go, "Ted." And they knew me. They didn't know me because I was somebody. They knew me because they knew I wanted to be a part of them. So Bubba Gaines kicked my butt in the breezeway. You know what I mean? They were trading steps with me. And Bubba said, "You think you pretty? I'm prettier than you ever been." He kicked my butt. And everybody laughing like, "Ah!" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Face Roberts and everybody standing around going, "Look, next time you do that shit, put this on it." And then they throw you something. I mean, like, what?
Yeah.
And I would love to be in a space where I can, and I want to say this, I would love to be in a space where I could try to remember all that and hold it and dance it. But that's not my space. My space is to be able to create these works so you guys can have your chance to be where I was. Because it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to go night after night, exchanging that rhythm and that love with fellow rhythm makers. You know, it's fun. I knew what they were going through on a nightly basis. I don't care what you go through. When you hitting that wood, it all makes sense after you come off. You know what I mean? I don't know who that could be outside of Teddy Hale. Would probably kill my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I'm gonna tell you who twinkled my transistors though. Patterson and Jackson.
Ooh. Yeah.
I mean, but the other side of the coin is that the only other person that could have been was Peg Leg Bass, but I did that. I'm like, what? But the people who I didn't spend that time with, I mean, because Peg Leg Bass spent some time with us.
Right.
And when we did Ted Levy and Friends too, he was there. He came to the show. I'm like, what? I got a picture with me and him. And he said, "Come here, young man, you just fine job." He said, "You danced too long, but it was a fine job."
Oh, so he was telling you temperance like you've been telling me. So
I mean, they didn't cut no bucks. They tell you, yeah, that was wonderful. But you sucked on the third number. Freyard Nicholas. I'm dancing with Freyard Nicholas. Let me tell you one of the highlights of my life. Harold Nicholas. We were doing Butter and Egg Man, and the two other guys had no respect for Freyard Nicholas. They had more respect for Broadway than they have for Freyard Nicholas. And when he came down to the solos, Freyard was trying to give them the solos, and they said, and they were trying not to do it. And I tell Freyard, I'll do it, and he's like, no, I have something for you. Do you know what solo he gave me? The wing section he did in Down Argentine Way. Bagato feet, gato to feel bagato feet, batu to feel bagato feet, batu, blah, 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 bagato feet, batu to feel bagato, batu to feel bagato, here batu to beat batu to bam, with them over the tops. He gave me that. On a nightly basis, I thought I was trying to. They said, "Yeah, were you trying to hurt yourself?"
great.
So I think it would have been Patterson and Jackson.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I thought they swung so hard.
Yeah. And in that number that we see them do, there's one that is just a singing piece. And it's hitting.
Wonderful one. You're like the breath of spring. It starts to swing with the sun. Oh my God.
Yeah. And I have to tell the studio audience, hey, y'all are just here. I did this so I could have some entertainment tonight. I knew what I would get. I knew I'd have a show.
Oh my God. But you and I together, we always found a way to, wow.
Yeah. Man, yeah. And so next time, another thing, speaking of Harold, is If These Shoes Could Talk.
Oh, let me tell you this. It was during the craziest time of my life, but let me tell you what Harold did. We had a moment in the show where I got to do a little thing, and then he had his little solo. We went all the way through the thing. Harold just says, yes. And we went the last night, that sucker opened up in the middle of the show, pulled a standing ovation on me. I just bowed. He killed me. He just went off. He said, and then, because usually he goes, let me show you. He's sitting up in his chair and he goes, let me show you. And he'd come down, he'd do his thing, go. So this last night he went and he took it and he looked at me and went, are you ready? And I was like, because he gave me that look. He took me to PhDville, man. he took me to school. It was I mean, I stood on the stage just bowing. The audience was clapping and laughing because they knew I got my butt kicked with love. I mean, when I got up, we just stood in the middle of the stage and hugged. It was to have.
I'm already knowing. Knowing. Yeah.
Wow.
Man.
Wow.
So
to remember that. Wow.
So for anybody who's tuned in at home, I'm gonna give a shameless plug real quick before our last question. In the comment section, I just put our shop. We have some merchandise. We got shirts. We got hats. We have these mugs.
Get that shuffle on. Get that shuffle on.
Yeah. By supporting, you are not just supporting me. So go ahead and support a small business as much as. Now, last question.
Support. We need you. He needs you so that I can borrow money from him. This is important.
Y'all heard it. It's documented. Man, so last question. What do you want? What would you like for people to remember about you? Remember you for as a dancer, as a person, or all of those things?
That I care. I care about now. I care about you now. I care about TAP now. None of us own it. None of us, we didn't create it. We are all messengers. We are all standing on the shoulders of greatness. I am supremely, I would love for you to remember about me, how proud I am of you. Right now. Keep doing it. Do the right thing. Fight hard. Fight together. Because no one person, none of us has created this thing. We are messengers for the respect and love we have for it. We are messengers and conduits from then to now. And the best I can do is to help you fight your way forward. If I can, and that's it. Just I care. I care about us being a better part of humanity, because humanity is what rhythm is. It's life. Rhythm is life.
Yeah, y'all.
One shuffle at a time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen at home, join me in giving a round of applause to our guest today, Mr. Ted Lewis.
Send money to Shuffle Life. No applause, please.
He said it. We will accept it. Thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you, Ted, for joining me in this journey and discussion. And it's only the beginning of this portion of our journey. So
yeah. No, we got work to do. The other side of this thing, we killing. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
God bless you guys.
Y'all have a great night.
Swing forward.
You heard it.
Call me.
Yep. Yeah. So I just